Hi, this is Rainbow Harmony, here to help you find balance and peace to live a more colorful life. And welcome back to my channel. Today on the channel, we are continuing the Spiritual Awakening series with episode 2, which is all about the dark night of the soul. If you missed episode 1, I'm going to put a link up in the cards right now. There'll also be a link down below in the comments and in the description so that you can watch the first episode, because it introduces you to this whole concept of spiritual awakening and will get you caught up for this video, okay? So, what is the dark night of the soul? All right, we've already talked about the symptoms of spiritual awakening, and we talked a little bit about what that means in the last video, but spiritual awakening basically starts with this process of disillusionment and these symptoms that you have, and the first stage really is the dark night of the soul, okay? So sometimes you can start off your spiritual awakening process with a boost of energy. We talked about some of the positive symptoms, like feeling an intense sense of empathy, feeling connected with nature, feeling so connected with life, asking some of the bigger questions in life, but then the energy kind of shifts and you go through a dark night of the soul. So the dark night of the soul has been referenced throughout history. T.S. Eliot refers to the dark night of the soul throughout his work, The Four Quartets. F. Scott Fitzgerald, the Spanish singer Rosalia, even Stephen King, Depeche Mode, and Van Morrison have all referenced this concept of the dark night of the soul in their work. So what is it, okay? In the context of spiritual awakening, I personally would define the dark night of the soul as basically a complete disillusionment with life, meaning essentially a bit of a depression, okay? You might feel as though life is meaningless. You might feel as if nothing makes sense to you anymore. You could also be feeling like your sense of reality has completely collapsed. And so the dark night of the soul is very similar to how it sounds. It's this darkness, it's this feeling in your soul. It's like a nighttime, it's like a personal winter. It's as if your sense of reality has completely collapsed. So to say the least, it can be very, very devastating. You feel as if the meaning behind what your mind or what your head has originally given to life has just completely collapsed. So you're basically born into this world, you go through a lot of social conditioning, and that shapes the way that you view the world. So during the dark night of the soul, it's almost as if that's completely stripped away and you're looking around at the world, you're having this loss of identity, which is a huge part of spiritual awakening, and you're almost feeling like everything is meaningless, like you're really seeing things in like the strangest way. You start to question everything, okay? So what causes spiritual awakening? What causes the dark night of the soul? Well, for many people, it's some type of traumatic event. Something like losing a loved one, the loss of someone, maybe the passing of somebody in your life, maybe some type of physical trauma or like an accident, car accident or something. It could be maybe an extreme situation of like abandonment. I've heard stories of people starting spiritual awakening after their parent has died or after even a breakup. Many people have been spawned to spiritual awakening after a breakup. For some people, spiritual awakening can start like maybe after you graduate college, like your whole life and your social life and everything you've been through, all your friends, all of a sudden it's just bam, it's over, you've parted ways, and you're just like, what am I gonna do with my life now? Like, I have this degree, but I don't know where to start. Like, it could be something like that, like a big sudden shift in your life or the changing of the seasons. It could be something extreme that's happened, something just that feels traumatic to you, or big sudden shift. So it can come on quite suddenly. For some people, it comes on more gradually. Some people aren't able to really pinpoint exactly how it happened. It just sets on. So yeah, basically this spiritual awakening, and especially the beginning of it, this dark night of the soul process, can be really extreme, can be really intense, and even really scary. And so if you're watching this and you're identifying with this, or you're currently feel like you're going through dark night of the soul, I just want you to know that, first of all, there's help out there. And second of all, you are not alone. I personally have been through this. I know many of you guys who've been through this. I know many of you on the channel who share in the comments all the time that you're going through this. And we do, in fact, have many points of trauma or like many dark nights of the soul throughout our life here. But there's something different about this, because this is the point at which you shed everything. Like, you're completely disillusioned. It's a little bit different than just a normal depression or some type of grieving process or some type of trauma. Like, you are looking around at the world and like it does not make sense anymore to you. From point A to point B, it's just completely different. So you might be going through dark night of the soul, or had gone through dark night of the soul, if you can remember, if you're currently feeling like life is meaningless, a bit of depression, feeling like the meaning your mind has originally given to life is completely gone, okay? So what are the pros of dark night of the soul? What does it actually help you do? What's the point? It's not to torture you. I don't feel like you're going through this for no reason. This is from my experience, and what I've realized from some of my clients and friends is that dark night of the soul puts you in a situation to where you're able to rebuild your framework and let go of conditioning and anything that isn't really you. So like I talked about, when you're raised in this world, you are told certain things, you're told what to think, you're told what to believe. There's a lot of suggestions that are made to you through education, from your family, your community, politics, the media, and when we're little, especially from ages 0 to 8, our mind is like a sponge, just absorbing everything around us. So sometimes we're also told things by people, sometimes even bullied into thinking certain things about ourselves that just really aren't true or that we don't resonate with. So we end up at this certain place in life. Maybe we've made decisions and we've made choices based off of that framework that we just adopted. And spiritual awakening is us slowing down and going, wait a second, do I really believe those things? Is this really me? Is this really how I want to live? Like, that's why it's like this huge disillusionment. That's why we start feeling like we can't identify with our choices or our life or how we're living or like the way we view the world, because we're like, is this really me? Is this really how I want to see the world? It's basically an existential crisis, okay? But it's a good thing because it helps you to decide, like, what do you want? Who are you? It helps you to rebuild your framework and let go of conditioning and help you to cut ties with anything that just really doesn't align with the true you. Spiritual awakening, and especially this process of dark night of the soul, provides a space for your self-discovery and for you to find yourself. So this is like you going on an adventure, basically, to find yourself, to find who you are, to find what you believe, to find what your truth is. It helps you to ask the bigger questions about life and be able to answer them for yourself. Like, you're no longer looking outside of you for the answers. Spiritual awakening and dark night of the soul really calls you within to answer these questions for yourself. So it's definitely like a hermit mode. It's a hermit time, and time for introspection, time to go within. Spiritual awakening, and especially dark night of the soul, gives you an opportunity to connect with your soul and to connect with your truth and to explore and experiment with what that is for yourself. It also gives you a new chance to discover your likes and your dislikes and your talents and your gifts. That's one of the craziest things I went through with this dark night of the soul process. Like, I realized that some of the things I thought that I liked, some of the things that I thought I was good at or wanted to try in life, were just things that were pushed on me or that I like adopted. I actually had a chance to slow down and try different things, try different paths, try different hobbies, try different activities, and like I just felt more free to experiment and try new things. And that was something amazing that my dark night of the soul gifted me with. So this next thing that the dark night of the soul can help you with can be a blessing, but also a curse, okay? Your dark night of the soul ultimately positions you and helps you to let go of the people, places, habits, and situations that no longer serve you. That's why dark night of the soul can be so painful, because it brings those things up to you. Like, you might realize you're not connecting with some of the people around you. You might start realizing some toxic habits that you have, toxic habits that your friends or your people around you have. You might start realizing that you have an addiction or something that might be brought to your attention. You might realize, oh my gosh, this environment is toxic, my job is toxic, my workplace is toxic, oh my gosh, this person is a narcissist and is abusing me, oh no, like I'm totally, I totally have a gambling addiction or something like that. Like, all of a sudden you just start realizing what isn't helping you, what isn't feeding your soul anymore. Maybe you're realizing, oh God, I've spent the last 10 years doing nothing and I haven't been working towards my goals, and I just really want to do something meaningful in life. Like, it can be hard because you're realizing this is not me. But I want to remind you guys in that situation that dark night of the soul and this awakening process is so abrupt that it just wakes you up and you're looking around realizing what isn't in alignment with you, and it can feel so overwhelming. But take it slow. We're going to get to some tips on how to help you through this in a second, okay? Basically, your dark night of the soul is making way for your growth. It's just like in the fall or the winter where the trees shed their leaves to make way for that new growth. What happens after that winter period? Everything blossoms and blooms and grows, and there's this gorgeous harvest and there's all this fruit. That's exactly what you are like going through spiritual awakening. You're like this bare tree in your dark night of the soul. You've got nothing to cling to, and you just got your roots in the ground, and it's just basically a matter of letting nature take its course. So what are some tips to help you through this difficult time, or through dark night of the soul if you feel like you're going through it? First of all, do not be afraid to seek professional help. Go to psychologytoday.com to find a licensed therapist or counselor to help you through this. There's no shame in getting help, especially if you feel like your dark night of the soul has really made you feel very depressed, okay? And obviously this dark night of the soul is a spiritual thing, but your body is holistic. Maybe working with your mind and talking about the past or healing some trauma can really help you get more grounded in this process. The next tip is self-care. We just talked a second ago about taking it easy. This is the time where you really just want to take, nice long shower, moisturize, take good care of your body, eat healthy. We talked in our last video about how your body is raising in frequency and raising in vibration, and you might not feel like you can eat junk food as much anymore. Your body might be really having physical reactions. So just taking really good care of your body, a little bit of gentle exercise, stretching will really help you through this. Don't feel bad if you need to take more personal health days from work, or if you need to just self-care more. And that brings me to my next tip, which is rest. I remember during my dark night of the soul, I was just in bed a lot. And that's very much a symptom of depression as well. Like, sometimes your body just needs rest. Depressed means deep rest. Allow your body the rest that it needs. I mean, you're literally reframing your entire viewpoint and like figuring out who you are and kind of starting over in a way. So that's gonna be a little traumatic, and your body is gonna need rest to readjust to that. There is some anxiety that comes with this process, so don't be afraid to allow yourself to rest. My next tip for you would be to write or to journal. This is something that helped me so much. I was just writing and journaling so much during my dark night of the soul. Sometimes you can have sleepless nights because of the anxiety and the process and this disillusionment and who am I and whatever trauma you're trying to process that triggered this. So writing about your thoughts, your memories, your goals, your dreams, like just trying to get that out on paper and figure out that stuff that's going on in your head can really help. It can help calm you, it can help center you, and it can help you document this process. Something else that helped me during my dark night of the soul was making art. I had just so much energy, and painting was something that I discovered during my dark night of the soul. It really, really helped me. And while I painted, I would turn on, which is my next point, relaxing music or uplifting podcasts. I was starting to re-educate myself. And so I found podcasts and YouTube videos and music that lifted me up, that had a very positive, uplifting perspective. I listened to like a lot of self-help stuff. So that's what I would recommend for you, is to listen to calm music, listen to podcasts that lift you up. And that uplift you, because you might be feeling super sensitive to negativity, super sensitive to politics and to the media, and maybe the old TV shows and little things you used to watch for fun or for entertainment are starting to cause stress, or you don't resonate with them anymore. So you might have to go find yourself some new material, some new entertainment, some new relaxation to help you, okay? My next tip is to get rid of clutter. Just like you need to get rid of people, places, habits, situations that no longer serve you, like your dark night of the soul is pushing you to do that. Getting rid of things can help too, like old clutter, having your space organized, creating sacred space around you so that you can just feel comforted and healed while you're going through this process. Maybe you'll feel called to get yourself some nice candles or some incense, aromatherapy stuff, or perhaps maybe some crystals, or maybe you're going to want to decorate and put beautiful colors around you. Just get rid of the clutter, get things nice and clean, and you know, you're gonna be kind of inside a lot and going through this dark night of the soul process. So you want to make sure that your environment will be a positive space for you to heal in and retreat in. My last tip for you is kind of just a repeat. Relax. This process takes time. How long is it gonna last? I don't know. The worst part of the dark night of the soul for me lasted around 18 months. I've heard for some people it's lasted shorter, it's lasted longer. Take your time, it's not a race. On the other side of this, you are going to be doing so amazing. Like, what you're basically doing is clearing out your root chakra. And when you clear your root chakra, it opens you up to manifest more abundance, soul family, opportunities. Seriously, you guys, stay tuned for the next episode of this, because I'm going to talk about what happens once your dark night of the soul is basically over. And yes, it's possible to go back into the dark night of the soul. Your healing process and spiritual awakening isn't necessarily linear, but I personally believe that the real big dark night of the soul only happens like once. You might have little mini versions, but the big one, if you're going through the big one, just know you're gonna make it through this, okay? Share your stories in the comments below about Dark Night of the Soul. If there's any of you guys who've been through Dark Night of the Soul and are actually on the other side now, and you want to share your story and what it's like now and how positive the changes have been for you, please leave that in the comments below too, to help lift anyone else who's watching this video who's actually in the middle of it. And if you're watching this video, you're in the middle of it, please come back to my channel, turn on notifications, subscribe so you don't miss the next couple videos in this series where we talk about what actually goes down on the other side, okay? And spoiler alert, you guys, it's amazing. So thank you so much for coming to my channel. I will see you guys again soon. Peace out.